Twin Maiden husks in Elden Ring are meant to be an NPC you could buy stuff as you progress into the game. Many people use these Twin Maidens to deposit bell bearings from such NPCs to buy their items while being dead. The Twin Maidens are also useful for using smithing stone bell bearings you get as you progress further and further into Elden Ring. They also sell some pretty useless stuff that isn't even worth looking at. But they do sell weapons, and I'm here to test if I could beat the game using only those weapons. What's going on, everybody? My name is Influx, and I hope you guys are all doing amazing. And today, as you saw in the title and in the intro, we are going to be beating Elden Ring, but we are only going to use weapons from the Twin Maidens. So I'll get to how this works in a second, but first off, let me just say the overwhelming amount of support recently is crazy. I mean, thank you guys so much. So instead of beating Elden Ring with a specific weapon type today, I'm deciding to switch it up and making it a little bit harder on myself. So first off, what am I able to use? Well, let's first take a look at the shop, and these are the items provided by you, but mainly we are going to be focusing on using these main weapons as they are arguably the best in the shop. But there also is a feature to deposit bell bearings to buy stuff, and I also will be allowing that, but I will not be allowed to buy weapons from people's bell bearings that I've killed. So I am allowed to deposit any bell bearing and buy anything as long as it's not a weapon. An example of this would be killing Bernal and depositing his bell bearings to buy Ashes of War. That is totally allowed, but if he sold a weapon, I would not be able to be allowed to buy it. So the only allowed weapons I'm gonna use is the dagger, the longsword, the short spear, the mace, the battle axe, you get it. Literally every one of these weapons are trash, except one that saved my whole run. But you guys gotta watch the video in order to see that. There are some items in Elden Ring that you need to pick up or else you just literally cannot progress the game. What you're seeing on screen right now is an indicator that an item is on the ground. As long as these things that I'm picking up are not weapons, they are free to be picked up. And I chose not to allow any item that is in any chest in the game. I just decided not to allow this as the fact it would just be too easy. I did this because every buff I use in the game on my normal runs always are acquired through ground loot or in chests. So doing this would force me to change how I play. And changing how I play is the whole point of a challenge run. The only allowed items that could be obtained through chests are the deck disc medallions, and that's for obvious reasons. So to sum it up, I'm able to use the weapons from the twins and the twins only, and no other weapon I can obtain other than the Twin Maiden shop. I am able to deposit bell bearings to buy Ashes of War and other stuff, but still no weapons. Then finally, I'm not allowed to use any item that is in any chest. Sorry for the long intro, but if you could subscribe, this video took so long to make, and if you don't, I totally understand. If you could toss a like to push me out on the algorithm, that would mean just as much. But anyways guys, I have nothing else to say, so enjoy the video. The first thing I did when I spawned in was went to go grab a couple kukris, as this was completely within the rules. I didn't have a weapon to go kill the merchant for him to drop his bell bearing to deposit it yet, so I would have to stick with this. I grabbed my trusty steed and then headed over to the Third Church America to grab the Sacred Tear and the Physic. I went behind the Third Church and I took the warp gate to Caelid, as this quickly triggers Mel to come to talk to you when you sit out of grace. Alright, you two. I'm gonna be seeing you a lot, so treat me right. What can we use here first? So, we got a couple options. We got the dagger, that's gonna be good for Assassin's Gambit and stuff. And we got the longsword. It's probably gonna be our best bet for damage since it has square off. That's right, the square off Ash of War, in my opinion, after recording this video, is the best Ash of War I've ever used in my life, and you're gonna see why. But I'm not gonna spoil it, you gotta watch the video. Anyways, I killed the Knight's Cap for money because I'm going to need a lot of money to buy stuff from various shops this run. I picked up a stone sword key that would be coming in handy later since I couldn't really get a lot of them. But it was time for, well, I'm not gonna say the saddest part because the saddest part is coming up, and you know exactly what that part is. But I killed this nomadic merchant because this one was actually probably the one I'm gonna use the most since it sold an unlimited amount of supply of kukris. Made my way over to the Weeping Peninsula, picking up some Sacred Tears, and along the way, I also grabbed the Strength Knot Tear. I wanted to get Assassin's Gambit as quickly as possible, and to do that, I had to go kill Bernal. Luckily, with square off, this guy was literally no problem whatsoever, and I killed him and ended up picking up his bell bearing afterwards. This guy also dropped some armor and a weapon, but sadly, I was not able to use any of them. Remember when I said the saddest part is coming up? Yeah, listen guys, if he didn't drop such a good talisman, it would not have to be this way, okay? It's not my fault. But after helping him out of the stepbro position, I unfortunately took Alexander's life. I'm crying making this video right now. I had to get the cookbook for Sacred Holy Pots or whatever they're called, so I had to go kill Kale, and then I don't know what's gotten into me, guys, because after I killed Kale, I started going for his horse. Yeah. and I chased this guy down. I don't know what's gotten into me, but after a long chase, I unfortunately unalived his horse too. I seriously don't know why. So after I went to the Twin Maidens and traded both their bell bearings in to buy some smithing stones and 3 cracked pots, a crafting kit, and the Missionary's Cookbook 1 that allowed me to make holy pots. One of the ingredients I needed to make holy pots were these things called tarnished golden sunflower, so I went to this herb tree to get an abundance of them. I don't have many talismans to my disposals without chests, so I needed these, and you're gonna see what talisman I'm gonna get from it. So to continue my murder spree, I went to go pay a visit to Patches, and since I really couldn't do anything without his bell bearing, fortunately had to sit him down. Next up was to go kill this other merchant. But I really don't know why, because he didn't sell anything too good for me to even care about it. But, I mean, I guess I just wanted to kill him? I don't know. But I killed this guy and picked up his bell bearing. To get to the volcano manor as soon as possible, I hit Raya because she could literally just teleport you there. I technically couldn't buy Raya's necklace back, so I only had one option, and I didn't feel too good about it, but I picked up his bell bearing, including Raya's necklace as well. Since I couldn't get Howl of Shabriri since it was in a chest, and thought the next best thing was Flame Grammy Strength, and even though this wasn't as good, still a buff, you know? I needed everything I possibly could during this one since it was going to be pretty challenging, and Flame Grammy Strength was taking one step towards it. Another day, another kill in merchants, but this fella wasn't selling anything, so I'd spared him. But unfortunately for his brother over here, he was selling some pretty dang good stuff, so I had to put him out of his misery. Picked up a golden seed and then traded all my bell bearings into the Twin Maidens, and not sure what they think of me yet, but still more to come, I guess. Next up on the list, I wanted to get some good talismans for early game, and what better one to start off by getting the Red Feather Branch Sword from the Death Bird, but kind of causing me a little bit of pain at the start, and thankfully, I got him to stay still like a good boy, and he just took it. When I'm below 20% HP, this will buff my attack power by 20%, so this is going to be really good. I head to the Lucaria tunnel next to get the bell bearing, and disappointed the first 5 seconds walk into the cave because there was a Somberstone in the chest. Didn't let it affect me too much because I needed to go get the Smithing Stone bell bearing. I had a really close call, but luckily the Crystallian has such little poise, 2 square-offs was enough to break his stance. The fight was pretty much over at the start, but I pretty much just soft-locked him after a couple criticals, so he couldn't literally do anything, and I've acquired my Smithing Stone bell bearing. I upgraded my sword and then headed to kill another merchant for no reason, because this guy literally didn't sell anything good. Next up on the list was Fort Height, so I just killed this knight, and then I grabbed the Dectus Medallion really quick. After that, I needed some more money, so I thought I would go on an Erd Tree hunting session. First up on the list was the Erd Tree east of the Smoldering Church. Learning how to fight these guys is extremely important because of the fact that the one in Caelid drops 90k, and 90k is a huge boost early game. So after I killed the one for 10k, I headed to Fort Fair to get the other side of the Dectus Medallion. After deciding I would just go to the Grand Lift of Dectus because I wanted to take the top to take Raya's hand to Volcano Manor to join it so I can get Assassin's Gambit. So I touched a woman's hand, or whatever that thing is, and then I headed to Volcano Manor. First thing I did when I got here was actually go enjoy the Volcano Manor because like I said earlier, now I could buy Assassin's Gambit through Brunel's bell bearing. And following that up, since Golden Vow was a body drop, I went to go pick it up, and then I killed Anastasia, and I cheesed her, but I don't know really how I did this. I just kind of did it. You remember when I said that the Erd Tree in Caelid drops 90k, right? Well, next up, that was on the list. Thankfully, I fought Erd Tree so much, this guy wasn't really in trouble, but he did have a huge chunk of health, and I'm pretty sure this guy scaled higher than Radagon for some reason. But a couple criticals later, Puget Avatar has been killed. I ate a pickled foot just so I can get a slight boost of money, and 120k is a huge amount for right now. A couple things I wanted to do next was get Assassin's Gambit, and then also get Bloodflame Blade since it didn't really hurt to do it. I never really used Bloodflame Blade. It's either poison or I just kind of don't use anything at all, so this is going to be good to use. Since I was on the killing spree already, I went to go kill the Erd Tree Avatar in the Weeping Peninsula for some more quick cash. Luckily, my sword was just upgraded too much and it did a lot of damage. This guy did not stand a chance. But up next, our first boss technically, Margit the Fell Omen. To be honest already, we were always too overpowered for this guy in every single one of my videos. The only one I actually struggled on is the parry because like that was the first ever time I tried parrying, but Square Off is just a whole nother story. Obviously, I don't know if you guys can already tell already, but the reason Square Off strives so much is because of its stance potential. This thing does so much stance damage, it's absolutely crazy, and Margit was made quick work by Square Off. Next up on the list was getting through Stormville Castle because I was planning to take down Godrick next. It is just so useful to have Assassin's Gambit in any of these situations because you can literally just run through without having no problems. And I also grabbed these crackpots from the family of 20. Finally, it is time for Godrick. Obviously, this is going to be a quick cleanup as well, just like Margit. And every time that I fought Godrick, I usually get caught in a tornado attack, but today it is a different day because I just fight him too much. But after I got him into a second phase, I obviously started off by doing a couple square offs to enter a stagger. Before doing any riposte, I kind of just sit there and see how long the downtime is because I want to see if I can get a couple swings in before I actually perform the riposte. But luckily, it just did so much damage I didn't even need to do anything. But yeah, Godrick just got absolutely obliterated. And since I go for Rennala every time, I wanted to try something new, and that something new was going for Radagon instead. Now, I am terrible at fighting Radagon. I don't know his moveset. Kind of just get on my horse and run the whole time and let the summons do the work. But as you can see here, not going too great for me. But you know, maybe we should just go for Rennala. We'll give it one more try though. Okay. You know, yeah, let's just go for Rennala. So, since I absolutely suck at Radagon, I went to Rennala because it's the only boss I know how to fight, really, for second shard bearer. Up next, Red Wolf of Radagon. Luckily, I made some pretty quick work of this guy, even though I usually just suck. But, yeah, killed him. I used Assassin's Gambit to sneak by Moongrum, and then, now, it was actually time to fight Rennala. Obviously, her first phase went pretty smooth. You really just kind of gotta, like, stay back and kill the children that are glowing for some reason. But second phase, I think that this is the fastest I've ever killed Rennala, and I don't think I've ever staggered her before, so that's pretty crazy. I intend just to blow through all the bosses at the start because I spend so much time powering up, and I guess it's kind of paying off because I don't think I've ever, like, staggered Rennala or just killed her this fast in general. But again, she was just, like, avoiding summoning, and I don't really know why, but hey, I'm not complaining because that is annoying. So yep, Rennala down. Makes pretty quick work of her, thankfully. Debating on what I should do next, I grabbed a couple golden seeds and headed for the blue dancer charm. Like always, Assassin's Gambit just kind of carried me through the cave, and now I just had to kill this guardian golem. I acquired the blue dancer charm after killing the golem, and now it was on to draconic tree sentinel. So let's be honest, who actually likes fighting this guy? Well, I can tell you, I for sure don't, and if you do, go back to, like, Minecraft or something, because this boss sucks. Anyways, after I pushed him off the cliff, I went to the weird fingered lady, and I got the talisman pouch. My next plan of motion was to go kill Godfrey, because I needed that extra talisman pouch, but I was really wondering what I should put there. But obviously, I stopped by the Erd tree that for some reason dropped you a fatty 50k, and you know, I couldn't pass that up. Like I said earlier, fighting Erd tree so much just kind of made me memorize all their movesets, and this guy fell, and I picked up a Lord's Rune. Now to make my way all the way up the Dragon Wing, because obviously, like I said, next, I wanted to go make my way to Godfrey. Past all the branches, I made my way to the Erdtree Sanctuary, where Godfrey was. And square off, like, again, I mean, what boss even stands a chance? If you know which windows to punish a boss, like, you're just like, this thing will carry you through the whole game, I promise. I was kind of blanking around this time, and I didn't really know what talismans to get, because, like, most of them were just, like, locked away in chests, and I only thought about the Viridian, so I went to go get that. Next up was Morgott, though, and let me tell ya, square off, I mean, what even stands a chance with this weapon, to be honest? After the riposte, he tried to do his grab attack, or his pierce attack, or whatever. What is this called again? Anyways, that allowed me to get a free hit, and then he did his cursed blood slice, which allowed me to get another hit, and a 2-hit stagger, into a riposte, and I also got a bleed from Bloodflame Blade. And honestly, I don't really know why I don't use Bloodflame Blade more. It seems really good when I used it, and it doesn't take a lot of faith nor FP to cast. But I ended up taking Mr. Morgott down, and Melania gave me the roll medallion, so the only option was to start heading there. Just kind of did the usual here, the boring part, the 15-minute run to the Grand Lift of World for some reason. And then the worst happened. I was going to get the bell bearing, and I realized that it was in a chest, so the look of disappointment and the look of defeat, and I had to make the tough decision to just walk away. So I got out of there, and yep, I just had to go get them normally. And you know how much of a pain finding regular smithing stones is? Well, let me tell you, it is, it's not fun. Let me just say that. 2.5 hours later, staring at the wiki, let me tell you, wasn't very fun. But with the power of editing, you guys don't have to see me waste all my time to go get those. And now I was on Fire Giant. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't doing as much damage as I would like, but the stance damage, on the other hand, allowed me to get a couple extra hits every time. breaking his poise more often, it's more hits, so it's pretty good. Pretty damn good if you ask me. Sadly, you cannot perform a riposte unless you just magically grow 600 feet tall or something. I don't know. But that kind of sucks. I tried to get a bleed here, and the most unfortunate thing happened to me. I mean, I didn't even know that had such a huge area of effect. I mean, how could that reach all the way back there? I thought I was safe, but obviously not. Next attempt, started off pretty decent, and yeah, broke his brace with a couple square offs. Luckily, Fire Giant doesn't have a lot of poise for some reason. And broke his stance, but then, I mean, you guys could probably already guess what's gonna happen next, but, yeah. Yep, spoiler alert, I did die, but before I died, at least I got a chance to put him into a second phase, but, you know what, guys? I mean, is that even my fault? How does that, reach? I've never seen him do that for the first attack in the second phase, but, whatever, I guess. Anyways, next attempt. This dude thought he was in the WWE, and I tried to do that, whatever that move that's called, but, yeah. Took advantage of that. Got a couple square offs in. I had him very low, and I played distance just to be super safe and ensure that I win the fight. Also, did I just realize that he has an ear under his arm? Did anybody else know that? Okay, anyways, I took the warp gate to get the square off Ash of War because I wanted to apply an affinity to this, and it was most likely going to be cold because I suck at Radagon and I don't want to go kill him. So I slapped cold affinity on my longsword, Melania burned the Erd Tree, and now I'm here in Fair Missoula. First thing, I made my way over to the Dragon Temple because up next is the worst boss fight in the game. Thankfully, sleep pots are a thing. Oh yeah, also, I don't know why, but I'm just on an NPC killing spree today, and Kenneth Height got the best of me. Anyways, I picked up the cookbook and then started making my way down to the arena. Now, square off doesn't do a lot of damage, so I had to think of a plan, and a couple riposts I think would easily do the trick, so that was what I was going for. These guys have a shared health bar, and I decided to pick on the fat one first, like everybody should. Instead of doing 2 square offs, I decided to do a couple extra charges afterwards just to ensure I get a little bit more damage, and sure, it worked. Luckily, I managed to proc a frost right before he did his face transition, and I dodged into it to dodge it, and got another hit off. Thankfully, this wasn't the roly-poly attack, and it was just the one where he jumps in the air and causes an earthquake. But I jumped this, and I made some pretty quick work of Fatty. Next up was Skitty, and I just decided to do the same thing. Just 1 square off and a couple charge attacks did the trick. But sadly, I didn't even come close to one-cycling these guys. Thankfully, Square Off did a lot of stance damage, and they didn't really get options to attack me. So when Skitty respawned, I took this time to rebuff, since I had a lot of time, 60 seconds when they're slept. Then I made my move, did the same thing I did last time, a single Square Off and a couple charge attacks. I surely thought that Skinny's health bar, since they're shared, I thought this would be plenty enough to take him down. But I was wrong, I just slightly had a little health left to take off. So I got ready right to do a Square Off immediately when Fatty spawned in, and luckily I got the Square Off, and I did it again to stagger him, and thankfully, finally, Godskin Duo was dead. It was a little bit scuffed, but I mean, the boss is dead. I had a hard time deciding on what I wanted to do next, if it was just go power up more, or just go straight for Maliketh, and I just decided to start going straight towards Maliketh. I'm not putting a lot of stats into Vigor anymore like I usually do, because I'm getting pretty decently good at this game now, and that's exactly why I'm starting to use Red Feathered Branch, so Bloody Slash did the trick to trigger it. So, now that I had a 20% damage increase, but I was also one-shot, I had to be really careful. Right as the fight started, I threw a Kukri to initiate him running at me, so I didn't have to worry about any projectiles. Thankfully, on my previous streams, I practiced these bosses' movesets a lot just for these challenges specifically. Maliketh only has around 10,000 HP. He's very squishy, but he can pack a punch. So I decided to just take my time and only attack when I for sure knew I could get an attack in. And especially with Red Feather, I didn't have any chances to make mistakes, so I had to be extremely locked in for this fight. But luckily, Square Off kind of carried me through the whole first phase, and it wasn't really crazy hard. And after he did the Beast Claw, he started doing this ground pound thingy or whatever this is called, and this granted me a lot of time to get some hits in, and I got a couple Square Offs. My initial plan for this second phase was just to bait the jump attack so I can get a free Square Off, because I had a couple Square Offs in earlier, and I wanted to see if I could get a stagger. I don't know if Maliketh's Roar does damage, but that was close. Anyways, he did a double slash, and I dodged this one perfectly. He also did the Blade of Gold, and I also learned if you just delay your second dodge a tiny bit, you could dodge into this. And it sounds pretty crazy, but I literally have never staggered Maliketh before. That's the first time I've ever done it. But anyways, after other post, I got a Frost proc, and the fight was over. Maliketh has been defeated. I usually go for Melania before Godfrey on these runs, but I decided to go kill Godfrey first. But first, I had to go through one of the worst additions to this game, Gideon. I don't even want to say his name. But since this guy uses really only magic and incantations, it is really easy to stun lock him. So just as you see me doing here, I am literally playing with my food right now, and whenever he goes for an attack, just go for one back, and as long as your weapon attacks quicker, you're chilling. Really unfortunate he got a heal off here, but it's really not because I can literally just keep attacking him and he can't do anything about it. Up next was Godfrey, and it's really rare that I struggle with this guy, but I had some slight trouble. So before entering the boss fight for the first time, I did all of my buffs. Going into the fight, Godfrey is actually able to be circled as his opening attack. So that's exactly what I did, and thankfully I was able to get a full square off first. And like I said earlier, the Godfrey fight usually just takes me a couple attempts to warm up to it again, but it was pretty easy other than that. I say this like every video too, but Godfrey is either a hit or a miss. I can either just completely run past this guy and run through him no problem, or I struggle a little bit. But it was pretty cool I ended up getting a stagger because like always, I really don't ever stagger Godfrey easily. So I kind of just sat there and saw how much downtime I have, and after that, I knew I could hit him a couple times before performing the repost. After getting a frost, I brought him into a second phase, and for some reason, the square off animation carries over to the second phase. I almost got grabbed here, but thankfully I didn't. Not gonna lie, I really thought I dodged this, but maybe it's like an AoE, but I don't know. That sucks. Next attempt, you can easily tell that I got way more warmed up than the first phase and saw his attacks a lot more. I found this out completely on accident, but I forgot to dodge on this stomp and you could actually just strafe this. But he jumped away, and then I did a jumping light attack and it procced a frost. After the Earthshaker, I had a really close call here, but honestly, it was good because it actually activated my red feather. I just decided to wing it since really, in the second phase, I probably would get killed by any attack anyways. It was nearing his second phase, and actually, I had another really close call here because I almost forgot to dodge. But luckily, I got another stagger, and I actually didn't repost him this time because I wanted to try to get one in his second phase. Like I said though, I'm no expert at this game, and I don't know everything, but the way I was thinking about it is if I let him get up and fully recover, I could just get one step closer to getting another stagger. Obviously, I did something wrong because I don't know how long Hoarah takes for his stance meter to reset. He was too close to transitioning, and I was afraid that only the first part of the repost would have only counted, but it would have transferred into a second phase before I can get the rest. In my previous streams, I started learning to try to fight him close up because it is obviously a lot better than fighting him from afar. I got a couple hits in and trying to hope for a frost proc, but sadly I did not get one. And also, like right here, I really thought that I hit him enough to get a stagger, but I mean, I guess not. Unfortunately though, he really never does this when I'm playing from afar, and I just get caught off guard by the air circle. Next attempt. This is when I really started getting a lot more familiar with this first phase again. When I'm going for a lot more attacks I never did before, it starts becoming a lot easier. I just have to play smart. And also, getting hit really wouldn't be too bad because it would be activating my red feather. And activating red feather means more damage, and honestly, second phase attacks probably kill me instantly anyways. After getting the stagger, I knew that he was going to do the huge windup attack, so I took my time trying to get a square off and hoping to get a stagger in phase 2. Right when phase 2 started, I almost threw by locking onto him on accident, but I saved it. Sadly, he started doing his Earthshaker, which probably means his stance meter resets because it just takes too long for him to recover, and you obviously can't attack him during this. He tried to grab me, and luckily, I tried to get a square off in, and sadly, I got roundhouse kicked to the moon. That is a sad loss, but it was on to the next attempt. I started off the fight literally just how I usually do, just going absolutely ham on him because Godfrey's attacks in first phase is kind of easy. Luckily, I realized at the split second that this would have hit me if I didn't dodge left, and I got another square off here as well. I kept poking and poking until I got my frostbite proc, and thankfully I did. That would have been, of course, if I didn't try to get this hit last minute. Thankfully, I actually went for this. And like I'm saying here, I'm now realizing that I could just go for attacks like that as well. And for some reason, I got a stagger here. I really thought that his stance would have reset off that attack. But I'm not complaining. Any chance I get, I will take a hit. And also, after this, I knew that he was going to do his windup attack again. And since I was able to get 2 square offs here, surely now I was going to be able to get a riposte, right? Thankfully, I was right. If I get 2 off before the phase transition, it carries over into a stagger. I probably easily could have got a couple attacks in here, but I didn't want to miss the riposte on accident, so I just decided to play it safe. And then he started doing this attack, which led me to get a couple more free square offs. I would have staggered him here if I didn't frostbite proc him and kill him, but honestly, I'm fine with that. The fight is now over. Godfrey is dead. Now it is time for Melania. Or should I say the journey there. I first needed to start by killing Commander Niall, and not gonna lie, using this skip is pretty handy. I can literally just skip the whole entire Castle Sol. Thankfully, this skip is more one of the useful ones I've been practicing. This guy was light work. It literally only took 2 square offs to stagger him. After I killed Commander Niall, I grabbed the left side of the Hallow Tree Medallion. Since I forgot to grab the other side earlier, I went to go grab that really quick as well. I had to murder this poor guy, and then now it was time to make my way to Ordina to do the Everjail puzzle. Thankfully, I have done this so many times, it's just a breeze to run through. It just takes a little bit of time. But to get past the seal, I need to go light 4 candles up on each of these towers. Luckily, these Albinaric people are really easy to kill up close, especially with melee. But now that I lit all 4 of the candles, it was time to go to the Haligtree. So I took the warp gate and just made my way through the Haligtree like usual until I stumbled upon Loretta. And Loretta is a horse boss, and especially with square off, horse bosses are a breeze. And for some reason, I don't know if all horse bosses are like this, but especially for Loretta and the Tree Sentinel, they were really easy to stagger off. And especially because Loretta doesn't have a lot of HP, it's very easy for her to trigger some attacks like her second phase shield attack. Loretta was super easy because after the stagger, I also procced Frost. But now that Loretta was dead, I just had to make my way through the Haligtree like normal. And with the power of editing, we are magically in the Haligtree roots. I figured that this is a great time to tell you guys that I was just beating Melania up for 2 hours straight on my last stream, so I was pretty ready for this. All those 2 hours of also fighting, I was practicing using square off because I thought this was going to be a really challenging boss, but holy crap, obviously not. But fighting Melania up close with square off means that I'm going to have to be really careful waterfowl because I sucked at dodging her using circling. But luckily, after practicing it a lot, I was able to dodge it perfectly. I dodged into the last part of the waterfowl attack to get a quick jab in before she tried to grab me. After the grab, I got a square off attack that canceled out her attack, thankfully, because if that would have not been a staggerable attack, I would have been toast. But I ended up staggering her and getting a free riposte. And also, Melania gets up way too fast to even be able to have a chance to attack her. So I just had to take my riposte and wait for her to get up. I was slowly running out of FP the entire fight, but with the amount of damage I was doing, I think I would have been fine, but I didn't want to take any chances. Now I was kind of just waiting for her to do something stupid, and actually I really had a close call here, but like I said earlier, this really didn't matter because it activated my red feather. After the prosthetic slices attack, there's 2 different types of attacks you could do. She could do the short or the long one, and the long one has a really long downtime, obviously, so I waited for that and got a free stagger. I think it's kind of funny that Melania has a built-in code to stay at 1 HP even if you do a million damage to her. During the Scarlet Aeonia, I couldn't do anything, so I just decided to rebuff with Flame. I waited for the Aeonia to drop so I can go get a free square off in there. After the grab, she luckily did a staggerable attack, which led to me getting a riposte. Even though it only takes 2 square offs to stagger her, if she's in a non-staggerable attack, like let's say the lunge, for some reason she cannot get staggered out of that. Like I said though, I'm not no expert, but that's at least how it was going for me. Anyway, she fired off another Aeonia here. After every Aeonia, I can run in there early and get a nice little square off. She did her Phantom Spirits at this time, and I was actually really worried I was going to get caught by this first one, but thankfully I didn't. But the worst happened, and this is what I'm talking about with the non-staggerable attack, the lunge. And sadly, I do end up going down here, but I know for sure that I was going to be able to kill her. So I just kind of followed what I did up the first time and just keep getting square offs in when I could and getting staggers and riposts in when I could. I also procced a Frost here mid-riposte, which led to some really decent damage. But she started doing waterfowl at this time, and since I practiced circling her a lot last stream, I did it perfectly again. And I always dodge in at the end just for a quick little jab. At the start, Melania was always challenging for me, but personally, when I started focusing on crucial points during the fight, like dodging waterfowl or staggering her out of her micro-staggerable attacks, it was really getting easy. It's just the little stuff that makes this fight 10 times easier, like sprinting the kickback so you have time to get a running light attack without having any worries. And if anything has taught me anything, it's definitely from the parry video, because I spent well over 80 tries just learning her attacks. But at this point in the fight, it was kind of getting to where she was nearing her second phase. Also, like this right here, I knew she was going to do this slam down attack as soon as she lunged towards me off that second follow-up. And it led to a Frost, which led her lunging towards me, and this could not have been more of a good turn of events. But I backed up now because I had 0 FP left, and without square off, staggers were completely out of the question. She was kind of just standing there, so I went for a square off and got her into her second phase. Just like last time, I took this time to apply Flame back on me since it's probably worn off by now. I rushed in before the Aeonia fully came down so I can get an early square off in. And then she started doing a lunge. Now, I actually didn't go for a square off here just for this reason that she has a possibility to jump up and do a slam down attack on you. And honestly, it worked out because I did the square off after for a free stagger. And if you guys aren't actually noticing, I'm actually putting up my sword or blocking before every time I do a critical. And that's just so I don't accidentally hit her. I purposely backed up here because I was actually scared of her doing the Phantom Spirits when I was up close, and I knew I would be screwed. Luckily, I did not go for a square off here because I would have been toast like I was last attempt. After seeing this attack, I went in for a quick little attack, just hoping for a frostbite proc, and sadly I didn't get it. But it was okay because this had another long downtime. This was perfect. I also got my frostbite off my square off attack. After I saw this, I ran back and ran to the side to hopefully get a square off in, and luckily I did. At this point, she also started firing off another Scarlet Aeonia. At this point of the fight, I also just realized that Melania's short attacks are really free to go for because you can can stagger her out of any short attacks, but there's no long attacks that have such short time that you don't have enough time to react. There's maybe only one that I could think of, and that's when she spins around the right side of you, where you really don't have a lot of time, but you still have time to dodge out of it. But for the left side, when she spins around you, you can actually hit her out of that. But luckily, I practice waterfowl so much, I rarely mess up anymore, and always dodging in for a free hit afterwards. And after I saw this, I was so tempted to go for a square off. You see me put my sword up here, but I just had to resist because she jumped. And then after I got that one off, I knew I only needed one more for a stagger, and then she went for a lunge, which is perfect. And sadly, that made it so I could not get a stagger. But it's okay, because the damage is worth it. And then at this point, she fired off another Scarlet Aeonia, and I knew that this was kind of nearing where I was gonna kill her. So I waited it for it to drop, and then I ran in for another square off. And luckily for me, she did this attack, which has another huge downtime, and this means I have free stagger. But that was it. That concluded the Melania fight, and it went pretty decent. Holy crap. Square off is... I mean, I think this might just be the best thing I've ever touched in this game. That's crazy, man. Jeez. I mean, 2-hit stagger, if you hit her like, what, it seems like 4 seconds or 6 seconds, it resets, but still. 2-hit stagger, stun, get it right when she gets back up. Oh my gosh. Beautiful weapon, everybody. 10 out of 10. After a beautiful fight with Melania, it was time for Radagon, and I was really curious to see how this was gonna go. Since there's a brief time when you can attack, since Radagon doesn't really do anything to you, I took this time to get a free square off. I circled this attack, and then I hit him from the back with another square off. So now I was just kind of waiting for the stagger, and I really didn't expect it to be 2 hits, so I thought it was gonna be 3, and I was right, but I just had to stay alive and be smart. I panic rolled out of the other attack, and I almost missed the riposte, but thankfully I didn't. I wonder how many times I've said stagger this video. It's really getting to me now. But anyways, that riposte also led to me getting another frost proc. Now at this point, he was doing the scripted jump attack, and I was doing so much damage looking back at this. And I knew that he was gonna do another scripted attack after this, so I took a chance to get a square off, and now I was able to stagger him out of this. So with a couple pokes, like I just said earlier, now I staggered him out of this. I hit him across the face once just to show some disrespect, and now it was time for Elden Beast. I typically never stagger Elden Beast off the start, but this weapon is different, man. So I started off by hitting him just straight up, and then slightly moving to the right so I would have an easier time getting around his leg. And now I just had to poke him twice. That's right. It only takes 4 hits to stagger Elden Beast. I'm just like thinking right now, if you pair this with something like the Misericord, oh my gosh, this would be crazy. But just to ensure I get a lot more damage, I poked him once, and then as he's starting to run away, I managed to get another poke again. And just after the riposte I just did, he's already halfway getting to another one. But sadly, it doesn't work like that. This weapon is already crazy enough right now, but just even imagining if you could pull off a little bit more extra damage, this thing would be unstoppable. Anyways, I sprinted directly forward to meet Elden Beast right when he spawned in, and he started doing this attack, and I almost got caught in it, but luckily I got out just in time. Just because I got out of this, I ran back up to get a couple extra hits because of the amount of downtime this guy has after this attack. But sadly, Elden Stars came out after this, and I don't have a lot of health, so this is going to be very tricky to get out of, if I even can. And sadly, worst of the worst happens. I get killed by Elden Stars, but you know, it's not too bad, because after this attempt, I knew that I could do this very easily. I just have to get past that attack. Don't even ask me what I'm doing here. I really don't know. I mean, I've been recording for almost 8 hours now, and I'm just losing my mind, okay? But the actual next real attempt actually went a lot better. And since this guy just walks at you and does absolutely nothing at the beginning of the fight, why not take advantage of that? So I managed to dodge this attack pretty perfectly, and you could also circle the after part of that attack, but I just didn't think of it, and I was too panicked right now to do any of that. I was bound to get a frost proc soon, so I just kept hitting and hitting every time I got a chance. And since this has a pretty good amount of downtime, I was able to get my last hit for a stagger here. Again, I probably could have gotten a fair swing here before the riposte, and I just sadly didn't think of that. But what I did get is a frost proc, and that was actually huge, which provided me a big damage boost. If you stagger Radagon before the scripted jump attack, you will be able to stagger him out of the 3-part hammer attack as well. Speaking of hammer attack, he went to go do that next. And just like last time, with a couple of pokes and an extra square off, actually I didn't even need to riposte them. But now it was time to move on to Elden Beast. So I really just followed the same thing I did the first time and try to get a stagger in 4 hits. Luckily, it was almost always possible to get 4 hits in unless you specifically wanted not to. So after I got the stagger, I did 2 fully charged R2s and then crouched to cancel out the animation to get a crit faster. And I know I obviously could have got another hit in, but again, I did not know how long the Elden Beast's downtime is. But I did the same same thing as last time while getting 2 more square offs as he's trying to run away. And this time, I actually timed the riposte to when Elden Stars would actually go through me, because you are invincible and have unlimited iframes when you're in the middle of a riposte. And luckily, I actually did it perfectly. I was really surprised I did that, but I timed it pretty well. But the Elden Beast actually pushed me away from getting killed by Elden Stars because I already thought it would explode by it going through me. But he started doing a circle attack and I dodged that pretty perfectly, and then sadly, I died by this again. And I really thought you could just spin in little tiny circles to dodge this, but I don't know, guys. It's just ruined the run because of this stupid-ass star attack. But again, the Radagon fight went pretty smooth. It was just like basically the same thing I was doing before, and this guy really didn't pose too much of a threat to me. Moving back on to Elden Beast, and actually, I had a very good idea. I actually purposely missed the stagger because I wanted to wait until he did an attack, just to give me a lot of time to either see what I wanted to do next or regain all my stamina. But as you can see, my plan worked pretty perfectly. And since my stamina was at max, I was able to get 3 fully charges off instead of just 2. After the riposte, I did the same thing I did last time by getting 1 when he was falling and run when he's running away. And then he started doing his circle attack, and I started listening for the sound cues to try to meet him exactly where he would come up at. Luckily, I did just that, getting the hit in before he lunged back and dodging perfectly out of the grab attack. Thankfully, this grab attack has a pretty significant amount of downtime. And then he tried doing this attack again, but I already had 3 hits on him, and the 4th was a stagger, so I just completely canceled his attack. Luckily, I did because, I mean, maybe I could have got the riposte just in time to maybe get a bunch of iframes not to get hit by those, but I would rather play safe than sorry. After this, I knew he would be letting out Elden Stars, and I was debating on either just running against the clock and trying to kill him before the Elden Stars killed me, but I just also decided to play it safe. After dodging the Elden Stars, he did his wave of gold, and this was when I knew he was going to be killed, because this has a long amount of downtime. But he did try to do this last attack, and honestly, to dodge this one, you just have to dodge twice immediately and then be safe and not panic. I always die by panic rolling on that one, but Elden Beast finally has been killed. This was by far one of my favorite runs that I've done on this channel, so if you would like to see more of these challenges, please let me know in the comments. But guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching it all the way through. You guys don't know how much this means to me, and also thank you for the amount of support recently. It's actually crazy. If you guys want to see what I do next or vote what I do next, please head over to my Discord. That is the place where you can vote. We just beat Elden Ring only using the Twin Maidens weapons, but honestly, I would much rather say we only beat Elden Ring using Square Off, because it was by far the most fun I've had making a video. And sometimes I stream these runs here on YouTube, and if you want to catch one of those streams, also I let you guys know all when I'm streaming in my Discord. But guys, I'm going to keep the outro pretty simple. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe if you liked the video, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Have a great rest of your day.